Hello, viewers. You are welcome to this great channel where breaking stories are brought to your doorsteps. Like and comment on news stories that spark your interest and curiosity. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will be the first to be notified as breaking stories are published on this channel daily. The story you are about to listen to is one out of many sad experiences women face in our society today. In a revelation that has sent ripples through Nigeria's Catholic community, former Reverend Sister Anastasia Kinsey has spoken out about her shocking dismissal from the Congregation of Mother of Perpetual Help of the Archangel Sisters, once celebrated as the first nun from her village in Plateau State. Kinsey says her decade-long devotion to religious life ended shortly after she reported a case of sexual harassment at Veritas University, Abuja.
This congregation, these sisters that have turned to evil, demons, were the ones, according to the letter they wrote, sent you to university. Not any other university, but University of Abuja. To show you that they love you, trusted you, hoped in you, see you as the light of their congregation. They made you a local superior of a community. Coming today, sexual scandal she's talking about, I'm not dating her, absolutely. Sister, we will be at war front to bring justice to whatever sexual harassment you may claim that happened to you. We will be at war front for you if only you bring out evidences, proofs that shows that yes, it occurred. Not naming anybody's name. He said that there are priests, there are also a layperson. You may call their name, but you don't have evidences. They'll be the one to see you. The case will turn. So bring out evidences.
Right, that's a nun who was responding to the allegations made by Anastasia Kinsey. She put out that, and we thought it was important to give that side of the story as well. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the recently dismissed Catholic nun Anastasia Kinsey. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, what's your reaction to what that nun was saying?
I find it a little funny because she's asking me for evidence, but in our world today, imagine me coming out and calling names and talking, it wouldn't make any sense. And of course, like she said, I could be sued. And it's not like the evidences do not exist. They do exist, but I cannot put them out there.
What kind of evidence do you say
I have
exists?
a video and an audio recording that showed where the head of department harassed me. And
Right.
I can't put it out there. So she responded to what she saw online with so much clarity, as if she had spoken to me or anyone. Yet she talks about one-sided, story. So it doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. Well, let's get to the heart of the matter from your point of view. Tell us what happened to you briefly and how you came to be dismissed as a nun after 10 years as a reverend sister.
Yeah, I joined the Congregation of Mother of Perpetual Help of the Archangel Sisters in 2015. And in 2017, I was professed, and in 2023, I was finally professed. And after that, I experienced so many challenges. Of course, as a human person, your life cannot just be a bed of roses. And I had always confided in my superior general and my bishop. But the issue has always been that I was always complaining, according to them, whereas what I sought was clarity. And
Yeah, but what were you complaining to them about?
about our relationship with the priests in
Right.
the diocese.
And what was that relation? What were you telling them about that relationship?
First, I think I wrote to the bishop that a priest was always shouting at me when I come to the office to talk to him. I worked under him, and it was just I had to write because the bishop and many other people would not believe me, you know. So I had to write to the bishop telling him that this priest was, you know, harassing me and making me, you know,
Yeah, but not
uncomfortable.
sexually harassing
Not
you.
sexually as at that point.
Right.
So when I
So
wrote
when did
to
it
the
get
bishop,
to sexual harassment? Because that's the really serious one. I mean,
yeah, I only reported verbally.
yeah, I mean, they were
To
bullying you
Yes.
initially,
Yes.
which is bad enough. But what really got, you know, really bad is the sexual harassment one. I mean, that's a if it's true, that's a horrendous thing. I mean,
I
tell us about that.
reported to my superior. I spoke to her about a priest who I was living in the same compound with.
Where was this?
In a community where I was in Nauchi.
Right, that's in Edo State.
Yes.
Right.
So I told her that on a fateful day, I went into his room and he tried to touch me, and I don't just understand if this is a norm, you know, if it's a normal thing. And she just told me to just
Was that the
ignore
first
him.
time it had ever happened to you?
That wasn't the first time.
Right.
Yes, there was a priest in 2016. She said I should go with him in his car to his parish for a week, and I felt that shouldn't happen. And another priest, he put his belt on my waist, trying to check my the size of the cloth he would get me when I visit him, and that broke me. It gave me a lot of trauma in 2016, which is what they term madness in 2016.
Right. And you reported this harassment?
I did.
What was their reaction?
It was normal, nothing, no case.
Yeah, but what did they say to you?
More like, am I not an adult?
In other words, that what was happening did not negate the very principles of Catholicism, the vows that you had taken, but that they took it in their stride.
They
Is that what
didn't
you're
make
saying?
it seem like it was a problem.
Right. It sounded like it was a fairly normal thing.
Exactly.
Right. And then you've now, how did all this connect you to Veritas University?
Now, when I complained bitterly about a priest I worked with, and they said where I worked before that they didn't like me again, the students in the hostel were complaining, and the people were also complaining according to the bishop, so he had to transfer me away from there.
Where was that?
What happened actually in Imegba, a village where I worked as a hostel matron,
Right.
what actually happened was the priest was not given enough money for feeding of the hostel students. I had to use my salary to cover up for parts of the feeding. So I reported it to her, the superior. She did nothing about it. But then when I was transferred, I thank God, and that was the same time I applied to, you know, I wrote JAMB going to school. So that was how I got to Veritas University on a scholarship.
Right.
Yes.
So you were transferred to Veritas. What year was that?
2018.
Right.
I
And
went
then,
on studies to study computer science
right,
at Veritas University.
right.
So from there, I only come to the congregation, you know, December or Easter period for holidays. Which
So you were
is-
spending all your time at the university.
Yes.
Right. So how did it get to this allegation from you of sexual harassment by your head of department?
This was on my second, what I call missionary journey, when I returned to the congregation after they gave me a 3-month suspension. This suspension came after I wrote to the bishop about things that were happening. I think I wrote to him about 13-page a letter with so many things that I just poured out my heart. I titled it A Letter to My Loving Father. So when I said all of that to him, he said he was not happy with me, and I started hearing things from sisters that I insulted the bishop.
Well, wait a minute. This letter preceded the sexual harassment allegation. In
This
other words, it
letter-
came before you then
This
came
was
up with it.
before I was, you know, I went on suspension by the congregation, okay? I wrote that letter complaining of so many things that was happening. And in that letter, I said, we sisters are placed under priests. Like my letter of posting from 2022 when I graduated from the university did not carry any position I was to work. Okay, you've been transferred or assigned to work in this place as what? Which means the priest would have used me for anything. And in that way, I became the bus conductor in the school. I became the busser. I became the HM. I became the cleaner. I became the nanny. So I complained to the bishop, and he called the priest, and the priest told him a lot of things. And the bishop said, I would just go and be writing. He never called the priest, nor called me to sort it out.
Right.
The same year, a sister said I was using jazz juju on the bishop. I reported the issue to him. I sent the voice record of the conversation I had with her to him. So all of that made me uncomfortable, and I couldn't run to him when, upon returning to Veritas University for my master's, I was harassed by the head of department. I couldn't trust him.
Right. Well, look, there are a lot of things that you're telling us here, and it's difficult for people to get their heads around it because it's going from one thought to the other. Let's just focus on the biggest allegation that you have made, which is that you were sexually harassed by your head of department at Veritas University. How did that come about?
When I came to the university, I applied to work as a graduate assistant. I told the superior, because when I brought the letter that I needed to go for master's, the bishop said he had no money. So I told the superior that I could get a work, I could get employed while I do my master's. So she agreed to that, gave me a letter to that effect, and I left to do my master's in Veritas. So I took the letter to the software engineering department, the head of the department. So he told me to write the letter of seeking employment, and then he said I should take it to the vice chancellor. I told him that a classmate of mine said his head of department went with him and it helped him to get the employment. So could you please come with me, because I really need to get this employment so I can pay my fees. And he said okay, and he went with me to the vice chancellor's office. Upon our return, he said I should come with him to his private office, and that was when he came at me and tried to kiss me and held my body, and it was very terrible. I couldn't react. I froze, and afterwards I spoke to some staff and some colleagues. I got the employment quite okay, but I started being fearful of him and avoiding him. And
you reported this to the authorities?
Yes, I did.
You appeared before a panel?
I went to the chief medical director of the university. That was in December, and I told him my head of department was harassing me. And he said I should come to him if he does it again. So I felt that was not okay. So I didn't come to him when he did, harass me other times. So I reported to the university because a student of mine in 200 levels said the head of department tried to touch his classmate inappropriately. As a mother, even though I'm a sister and not married, that instinct is there, and I felt that this has to be reported. So I sought evidence and reported it to the university. They called me to a panel and tried to pressure me into giving up the case.
Right, so that was how they responded to your allegation?
Yes, that he is a key...
Was there any attempt to investigate it?
I have not seen that, So they took me to the Vice Chancellor's office.
But you said you've got some evidence.
Yes.
Did you submit that to them?
I did show them. So they called him. They called the HOD.
Right.
And he said nothing like that happened. That nothing like that happened. So they played the evidence, and he said, oh, now I can see that she's clearly trying to set me up. And they asked me to step out. When I stepped out, I heard them laughing. And when I came back in, I had to press the record to record whatever they were doing. I felt really, really disturbed. And they took me to the Vice Chancellor, who said that if I insist that a panel should be set up, that I will have to prove where in my letter I had said that such cases were reported and the university did not handle it. And I felt that the burden of proof was being, shifted to me, who is reporting the incident, rather than the person who abused me.
Right. Well, in all fairness, I mean, they have to investigate both sides. I mean, it's not fair on someone for allegations to be made against them because it affects their reputation, whilst at the same time, it is not fair on you that the allegations you're making are not properly investigated. But let me just make it clear that the University Veritas has denied the charges that you laid against them. And in the best interests of journalism here on Arise News, Veritas University, as well as her congregation of sisters, have a right of reply. So you have an absolute right to come on this program and respond to the allegations that she's making. But you said you sent letters to them, you got
Yes.
no reply.
They
And that there's
acknowledged,
been no discussion of accountability.
Veritas University acknowledged receipt of my
Right.
letters, but they tried to play tricks. They came to my house unannounced with a nurse claiming that I was mentally unstable, simply because I wrote a report a day before the panel they called me to. They said I should appear before the panel on 11th, but then moved it to 14th. I still went for the panel. They fixed the panel on the same day with my exam. I had to miss that exam and went for the panel.
Right, so how did you get to be dismissed then? Very briefly, because we're almost out of time.
I was dismissed according to
as a
them.
nun?
Yes. When they came to my house unannounced, I ran to Jos, to my parents' house. And then the bishop called me, where was I? And I told him that I was in Jos with my parents. And he said, it's holiday time. Why won't you come to the diocese? Not quite long after that conversation, I saw online that a priest was writing that I was mentally unstable, that I came to the convent with incomplete results. Father Solomon Olumeho. It was disturbing. So I sent a message to the bishop. Did you see what? Did you permit Father to write this about me? Then I went to Facebook and wrote that I was still a member of my congregation. I had not converted to Islam.
Yeah, but
according to what they claim.
You did write on Facebook
and that
you had converted to Islam.
Yes, I told them
and
that.
they got rid of you for apostasy.
Yeah, I told them that that was a post under tension. Prior to all these events, there were calculated attempts to pressure me into leaving the convent.
Right.
And I have always said that if anyone would make me leave the convent, I would not even be a Christian. My late auntie Salamatu, under distress, it was just common for me to have taken that name Salamatu because she was dear to me. And the picture I used in that Facebook post was from a picture I took in 2023.
Right. So your issue here, I mean, it raises questions about accountability in Catholic institutions, about sexual harassment, about alleged cover-up within religious circles. What are you going to do next?
Well, I do hope that justice will prevail. I submitted another letter telling the university that whatever they wrote in my termination of appointment were false. Giving an opportunity, if they would call me, I'm willing for them to, retrace their steps and do the right thing.
Right, and you would like to go back to being a nun, do you?
Yes, I have not left technically because according to canon law, you cannot dismiss me as a finally professed sister by what you saw online. You've not had any conversation with me. You didn't even investigate my claims or whatever you claim that was online.
Okay. I want to thank you very much indeed for coming in to tell us your story. Anastasia Kinsey is a recently dismissed Catholic nun, and as I mentioned previously, her congregation as well as Veritas University have an absolute right of reply. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again.